This webinar is designed to give you an in-depth look at the GMetrix study guide found in the student dashboard at gmetrix.net. We will also look at implementation techniques to ramp up your student usage and certification success. Before we get started, I do want to make sure that you are aware of the available resources to assist you with GMetrix. We do have our Facebook and LinkedIn page. Here we will house information about upcoming webinars, conferences that we may attend, releases, as well as teacher tips. You do want to make sure that you follow these pages so that you can get that information. We also have an extensive knowledge base at support.gmetrix.net. Our knowledge base includes articles that come with pictures and step-by-step directions that answer many of the questions you may have. You are also able to create a support ticket and receive help from our knowledgeable support team. Lastly, we have our YouTube page that houses our past and future webinars and an FAQ section that can also provide help with many of your questions. To access the study guide, you will need to be in the student dashboard at gmetrix.net. Upon logging in, you will click Study Guides on the left-hand side, and then select the study guide you'd like to see, and then you will have your study guide there. The study guide is a student-utilized tool that encourages and facilitates individualized learning. Students are able to utilize the study guide to determine what areas they need more development in and receive the development in those areas. I do want to note here that the students can access the study guide when they first log into the GMetrix student panel. The study guide will have no data in it, or you might essentially call it blank, but they will be able to access it and click on the resources and view the information in the study guide. Data will not populate into the study guide until the student has taken one test in testing mode. Again, the students have to take at least one of the practice tests in testing mode for any of the data in the study guide to populate. The GMetrix study guide contains numerous basic and advanced tools to help the learners and the facilitators within any organization. Let's have an in-depth look of what's contained within the study guide. At the top of the GMetrix study guide, you will see the reference to which test you are studying for. You will also see your proficiency percentage. It has statistics, calendar, where you have the ability to choose the date and time of your exam, and it will create a day-to-day countdown. You also have the ability to create your own custom exams based on the objectives identified within the study guide that you need to practice on to be successful in the industry certification exam. Additionally, there are hyperlinks to the practice exams as well as the courses. These provide quick navigation throughout the platform for your related materials. The GMetrix study guide will tell you which areas that you are proficient in, as well as suggest areas for development. Again, this begins to populate once you have taken a test in testing mode. Once you've received 80% proficiency on the objectives, they move over from your development area to your proficient topic. Your proficiency breakdown is an area within statistics that you want to make sure you pay attention to. This will tell you your practice exams passed. Those are going to be in testing mode. The objectives mastered. Again, those objectives are aligned with the certification exam as well as the courses completed. This is excellent information in determining student readiness for the certification exam. You want to make sure that everything has been completed and mastered before sitting for the exam. You want to be sure to pay attention to your development areas. These objectives are again aligned with the certification exam. The score is going to tell you your percentage of proficiency for each objective. And what you want to do here is when you click on the objectives, you're able to see your pass rate for the objective, the questions attempted, and the required pass rate. That's the overview. Under course resources, you are able to see a video, or it could be step-by-step directions, or it could be vocabulary. It just depends on exactly which program that you are looking at. You are also able to see all of the questions associated with that objective, and you're able to launch a test in training or testing mode with those questions in it. Here are a few screenshots from other programs just as reference. This is a good tool because if a student sees that they have an opportunity within a certain objective, they are able to click on that objective and get more information to help them understand it, but also see specific questions within that objective so that they can see those concepts. And with looking at those questions, they are able to see the actual question, the answer, as well as the explanation. You also have the option to do a quick review, where your students can review all of the questions in the development area. It will tell you how many questions that are within the development area, or they can choose a set number of questions within their development area. This is a great way to give the students time to look through things themselves, or you can say, hey, go in and do a quick review. They can choose 25 questions. It'll tell them the approximate time. They can choose training mode or testing mode. And training mode, again, it will give them immediate feedback. Where testing mode, it basically creates a test and they'll get feedback at the end of the review. But it'll tell them there's 95 questions in their development area that they need to review. Then you also have the option where a student can view all of the questions. These are all of the questions that are within the Digital Literacy Level 1 Study Guide, and it will be custom to whichever test that you are studying for. With this, you can note your development areas from the study guide, and then you can choose questions based on those development areas. So this has technology basics. I can choose, maybe I did not do so well on 1.2. I can choose those questions. There are 12 questions selected in there, and it'll take me approximately 18 minutes to complete. It's great that the student is able to tell how many questions are there and the time that they have, so that they can create this based upon the amount of time that they have, whether it be in class or at home studying. These guides are accessible to the students at home. As long as they have an internet connection, they will be able to log in and utilize these guides. If they want to see the questions, just click the drop down and it'll tell them the questions. They can click on each of them and review. You see that it shows green, that means the question was correct. If it shows yellow, that means the question was incorrect. Sometimes it's a partial incorrect, sometimes it's fully incorrect. But either way, it's going to give you the correct answer, the answer that you gave, as well as the explanation. The students may remove all of the questions that they got correct and just use the questions that they got incorrect in order to create their test. They may also add from different topics. They can add from digital citizenship. We'll see here at 2.1, all questions were correct. 2.2, all questions were correct, as well as 2.3. But they have not seen this question, so we're going to add this question about the slideshow presentation. If it does not have anything here, if it's blank, that means that they have not been given that question on a test. They can add from any topic area in order to create a full exam, or you can have it so that they only have a partial exam. It's up to you as the teacher or the student to determine what you decide what you feel is a full exam versus a partial exam. I will also note a great use case for this is going to be, say you're going to be absent at the last minute. You did not know till 6 a.m. and school starts at 7. Tell each student they have to create their own custom test with a minimum of 30 questions on it. And that's going to be their assignment for the day. And they create their own custom test and they turn in the school report at the end of the day. So sub work made easy. But the students are able to create their test, and then they can choose their settings. They can choose training or testing mode. They can choose to add all of the questions if that's what they want to do. They also have the option here, any questions that they flagged for review as they went through the testing, they can add just those questions to the test. They can add questions that have been rated easy, moderate, hard, or expert to the test as well. But the students can create their own exam. Another thing I want to point out, when you're going through the test and say you see something that you feel needs attention from our GMetrix content, here is the ID number here. You just take that number and you go to support.gmetrix.com and create a support ticket and give us that number and we'll have a look at it. Notes are a great feature for a student. They can take notes on a question that will help them further explain or put in their own words why they feel that the question, why they got the question incorrect. They can explain the question in their own words so that they can review it at a later time. So they can add notes here. So this question is about the USB, and they can just add that it's universal storage. And then they can save that note. It does have a maximum amount. They can have just a title here, and then they can have content here. And then they can save. So that note is there. And they can review all of these questions as they are going through and doing remediation, as they're going through and studying for their exam. They can review all of the questions simply by clicking on them. And again, they can read the question, they can see the answers, and they can see an explanation. I did reference that students are able to create a custom exam based on a difficulty rating. The difficulty rating is based on the student, meaning they can set their own difficulty rating. How that is done is the student selects a question, and then they're going to scroll down and look at the statistics for the question. It will give an overall pass rate of the question, the frequency in which the student has answered the question correctly, and then here's where the student will rate the difficulty. It's rated from easy, moderate, hard, or expert. Once the student chooses the difficulty rating, you will be able to see on the question itself what the rating was that the student chose. If the student chooses an easy difficulty rating, it'll just be green, and I'll change it so that you can see it there. It'll just be green with one bar colored in. If they choose moderate, it'll be blue with 2 colored in. Hard is going to be orange with 3 colored in. And if they determine that it's an expert level question, it will be red. And once you click off of the question, the difficulty rating does stay. And again, in order for a student to create the test utilizing the difficulty levels, they're going to choose the filter option next to the test list. And then they will choose the difficulty rating. And it will show them the items that have been selected, and they will be able to start the test. You will notice here that it says 10 items selected, but only 1 for difficulty level hard. That is because I had already chosen some items for my custom exam. Again, this is a great way for a student for differentiation. The students can set their own difficulty levels and practice that way. This is a great way for student empowerment. They can create their own custom test and study in a manner that works for them. And it's a great way for the teacher to become more of a facilitator than the teacher. You allow the students to create their custom test. It gives them immediate feedback, and they're able to go through, look at the questions, and get an explanation as well as a video. And one last tip before we go. Encourage your students to mark anything that they do not understand while taking the practice exams for review. This will be very important because we all know that sometimes a student might have a question during an exam, but we can't get to them. So one, being able to mark it for review and they're going to be able to come back to it. But 2, it'll be a later time where they'll be able to ask you for assistance, and they'll be able to come back to the question instead of having to try to remember. When they mark a question for review and they're looking at view all questions, any question marked for review will come up with the red flag. Not only will it come up with the red flag, but what they're able to do is create a custom exam with the questions that they have flagged for review. And they can create that exam in training mode or testing mode. Thank you for joining us. I want to invite you to stay connected with us through the GMetrix Facebook and LinkedIn pages. Also, like and subscribe to the GMetrix official YouTube page to receive instant alerts of new content postings, review previous webinars, and our FAQ channel where we will be posting videos addressing the most frequently asked questions. If you have a FAQ that you would like us to do a video for, please make sure to include that on their survey.